If I do this, it's because
Oh, do we put her you come back?
I have no idea.
Well, at least you're not packing children. That was always the harder part. Packing myself and packing children. That's where I just was.
drinks are on you, Maria.
We should come find you. It is now 6:18, and we are out of closed executive session. At this time, we will reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Education with a pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mrs. Brenner.
Here.
Mr. Bucher.
Here.
Mr. Herrera.
Here.
Mrs. Haut.
Here.
Mrs. Mayville.
Here.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Here.
Mr. Zickert.
Are there any items on the agenda any members of the board would like to amend or move? Hearing none, do I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda of the regular meeting of the Board of Education on June 20th, 2023 as presented?
So moved.
Second. Member Herrera made a motion and Member Hauk seconded the motion to approve the agenda of the regular meeting of the Board of Education on May 17th, 2023 as presented. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Haut. Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. At this time, we would like to celebrate our schools and individuals within the district. 2023 graduates. The Belvedere Community Unit School District awarded 616 students their high school diplomas at graduation ceremonies on Saturday, May 20th. At Belvedere High School, there were 257 students. At Belvedere North, there were 305 students, and there were 54 graduates earned their diploma by completing their graduation requirements at Everest Satellite High School. If we could give them a round of applause. We would also like to congratulate our 2023 Scholarship Award recipients. Congratulations to the class of 2023 from Belvedere High School and Belvedere North, who received scholarships totaling over $605,000 towards furthering their education at the annual Scholarship Awards ceremony on May 23rd, 2023. And a special thank you to all the scholarship providers for encouraging and supporting education after graduation. Again, let's recognize those students. We have some students we'd also like to recognize from Belvedere High School and Belvedere North for the Male Athletes of the Year. If you're here in the room, we'll have you come forward. We have Junior Braden Matthew Johnson of Belvedere High School and Junior Joseph Brown of Belvedere North were named the 2023 Male Athlete of the Year, the highest level of athletic ability, citizenship, leadership, and scholarship a male student can exhibit. Congratulations to both these
Congratulations. Congratulations.
We're going to do a group one at the end.
We'll do a group one at the end. For Belvedere High School and Belvedere North High School, the 2023 Female Athletes of the Year, if they're also present, we would ask you to come forward. Sophomore Emma Lynn Pearson of Belvedere High School and junior Cortland Hefty of Belvedere North were named the 2023 Female Athlete of the Year, the highest level of athletic ability, citizenship, leadership, and scholarship a female student can exhibit. Congrats to both of these fine young ladies. We'll give them a round of applause. Do you want me to do this separately, Janine, or, okay. We'll have you come back up to take a picture if you don't mind.
Most important.
Make it official.
Congratulations. All right. We would also like to shout out some of our staff for their efforts within our school district. We are starting to, on a monthly cadence, recognize staff. So at any time, staff can fill out a survey so they can share those good things. It can be anonymous, it can be from the person, either way. And we'll try to each meeting recognize a few people. So if you are here and I call your name, I'll have you come up. And we have a card for you and a little shout out, and then Janine will take our picture at the end. The following people have been nominated by their peers for going above and beyond in District 100. First, we have Lisa Britton, our OP at Belvedere Central Middle School. She is always very pleasant when I call her and ask for clarification on a process pertaining to her school, and always very helpful. If she does not know the answer, she tells me and will get back to me. I also notice that if I call her and she misses my call, she calls me back. And she was nominated by Rosa Belmontes for Operational Resources. Thank you, Lisa. Congratulations. And then I'll have you come back up at the end with everybody. Make sure.
Another photo op. Yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much. We would also like to recognize at this time Treasure Bach, a kindergarten para from Perry. Treasure is a kindergarten paraprofessional in my classroom. She's an asset to our classroom and to our school. She goes above and beyond on a regular basis to make sure each student has a successful day at our school. She listens to the students' stories and finds out their interests. Ms. Bach will help with any task that I ask her to do. She has been a lifesaver each year, and I've had the pleasure of working with her, and she got a shout out for Operational Resources. Congratulations. Next, we'd like to recognize Nicole Brinkman, who is an instructional coach at Perry. She's been very supportive and flexible with Perry students in classrooms. She's helpful, knowledgeable, recognizes struggles, concerns that teachers and students encounter. Nicole has done a wonderful job as an instructional coach, bringing new ideas to our Perry family. Thank you, Nicole, for your hard work and dedications to our students and staff, and she's shown academic growth and achievement. Next, we have Megan Hirsch, a kindergarten teacher at Perry. She has had to work with a large group of students, of 25 students without a teaching partner, and many other obstacles. She has done an amazing job keeping students engaged and successful. Super proud of her, also recommended for academic growth and achievement. And last, we have Tasha Reyes, our assistant principal at Meehan. She's been a great addition to our school district and comes to us with a wealth of knowledge that she's willing to share, and that was submitted by Dr. Johnson for Premier Workforce. Congratulations. And I'll have all the others come back up if you wouldn't mind so we can take a quick picture. Congratulations. All right, you guys can come up front here. You're all kind of standing in the middle. Good. Good? Good, good. There we go. Thank you guys, congratulations.
So at this time, any
Yeah,
students or
thank you,
staff
guys.
that want to duck out, you are more than welcome to do so.
Yes, thank you for coming, but you don't have to stay.
Thank you very much for coming. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of her.
Thank you. At this time, members of the public and employees of District 100 attending in person may make public comments. As a reminder, any person appearing before the board is expected to address the board only at the appropriate time as indicated on the agenda and follow the directives of the board president to maintain order and decorum. Identify oneself, limit comments to 3 minutes, and conduct oneself with respect and civility towards others, and otherwise abide by board policy 830, visitors to and conduct on school property.
But before we do that, is the link not set up for people watching?
Is the link on for the recorded meeting, Janine?
Yeah.
It is?
It's on her screen?
I
Okay.
just checked the audio and everything.
Okay.
How many-
I just got texts from people that said
wasn't
it's not
working?
on. Yeah.
Maybe because we went in late.
Have them try. Can you check on another computer, Janine? Are you okay if we keep going, Tom?
Mhm.
They must have the good stuff.
Right. But I think it was on. I think probably,
I wonder if.
We started a little bit
refresh.
later too.
I think that might be. Because it's all,
Yeah.
appears to be working, right,
Okay.
Janine?
Thank you for checking.
Yes.
Now we'll have our Board of Education Committee reports. We had 2 policy meetings on May 31st and June 13th. I'll share a few highlights, but before I do, does anybody have any questions for the policy committee members, Mr. Zickert or myself, in relation to policy? The first meeting that we had in May, we had some discussion around a requested policy that a parent brought forward about IHSA and participation of kiddos that are homeschool kiddos in our district athletics. So there was just discussion around that. Dr. Carson has got us some additional feedback to share with the committee about other school districts and if they allow for those provisions or not. Additionally, Evelyn Corral gave an update with our undesignated meds since we have implemented that now for the past year. The intent will be she will come back as there's more information brought forward, but Dr. Shug says they haven't released a lot from the state, but it sounds as though we won't be able to exclude other undesignated meds going forward, and we'll add some more to our list other than the EpiPens. The others were pretty standard updates. There were some changes in relation to the committee structures. Also, really looked at bringing policy and personnel committee. We might meet one time as policy and the other as personnel, really, so we have an avenue to bring certain things forward, such as like evaluation plan and things like that, where we've had to traditionally in the past take those to like curriculum committee or some other things. And then the second meeting was really primarily press updates that were timely, mostly semantic in nature. However, there was some discussion at the second meeting around field trips, and we haven't landed on an endpoint yet in relation to that, but had discussions for what needs to come to the board based on overnight status, based on how far away. So more to come in relation to that. Any other questions in relation to policy? The following policies have been submitted for first reading that you'll see on the agenda will be brought back for final approval at the July board meeting. Again, any other questions or concerns? All right, curriculum committee meeting was on June 7th. And Ms. Mayville or Mrs. Hauk, do you have anything you'd like to add or highlight in the curriculum committee reports?
I do not.
All right. Business services meeting was June 13th. Mr. Herrera or Mr. Bucher, do you have anything you'd like to add or highlight for business services committee report?
Nothing. I mean, we covered 20 items and many of them are going to be on consent and roll call up.
I would say there's a neat thing, and we don't always get to, in our positions, see things that are really cool that I think are making us better. But the name of it with the apple trees and apple orchard thing that we're going to do at North is, I think, a truly unique thing, and we should make sure people know about those things because I think it's really cool. So, is the link still there?
The links are in the consent agenda items, so you can
Yeah.
watch the student.
If anybody at home
presentation.
can see that, I think it's worth seeing.
And the students putting it together are doing a very good job of bringing that forth. So great leadership by the students on that.
Does anybody have any questions for board business services committee members? Facilities and Long Range Planning Committee meeting was on June 14th. Ms. Mayville or Ms. Hauck, do you have anything you'd like to add or highlight?
I do not.
We had a nice tour of Lincoln Elementary this time.
Anyone have any questions for Facilities and Long Range Planning Committee members? All right, next on the agenda are consent agenda items. Are there any items on the consent agenda any members of the board would like to take out of order for separate consideration?
The insurance renewal.
Thank you. Okay, member Whitcomb requested to have number 19 taken out of order. Are there any others? Do I have a motion to approve all the others exclusive of number 19 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Whitcomb made a motion and member Mayville seconded the motion to approve all consent items exclusive or without number 19, insurance renewal. Discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Haut.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. Do you want me to do the donations first? That's out of order.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, at this time, I would like to recognize the following donations. A $25 gift card from Dick's Sporting Goods in Rockford for Meehan Elementary, as well as a $100 gift card from Walmart for Meehan Elementary, and a $100 gift card from Target for Meehan Elementary. We want to thank our community partners for those kind donations, if we could, with a round of applause. Do I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda number 19 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Member Whitcomb made a motion and member Herrera seconded the motion to approve consent number 18. Any discussion?
So I understand we had to get out of click by February or we can't get out, so we were really just, the semantics of waiting on rate. And like everywhere else, it's up, like everything else. But I just had a question and I may have missed it. Do we have any cyber liability coverage on this policy? Did I
Yes.
miss? Okay, so is it aggregate as it was before, combined with all the other districts?
Yeah, it's the primary cyber liability, and then we took out an extra 1 million on the excess cyber liability to keep our premium about the same as what we spent
Yeah.
last year. It's just
And what
$1,000
is,
difference.
I'm sorry, is it on the PNC?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, okay. So I would just reiterate what I've said in previous years. I would like to see us robustly look at alternatives for the purposes of cost containment outside of CLIC. They may continue to be the best place to be, but privatizing and buying individually is something we haven't looked at for well over a decade. I think it's at least worth exploring. I understand it's time sensitive and we have to do it in order to give notice by February, which means we have to front load that work now, but I would like to see us engage in that practice and be able to make a informed decision about whether or not, remaining is the best from a coverage and I get it. Costs are up, buying collectively can help, but some of these aggregate limits are, they're concerning. You have an aggregate limit with a district where a tornado or a significant issue occurs and something happens that an entire school district is, a draw on the property coverage. And, we end up with, limping along. So the idea of, understanding pricing if we were on our own is something I would like to see us entertain.
If we were to look at that further, would that be something, Dr. Shug, that would go to now, if we adopt policy personnel or still through business services in that instance?
I think still through business services, that's still got
That's
such
another
a,
financial.
And it's something we
Big
wanted to do,
financial
and it's an alignment issue that she's working on.
Yep, we talked about that quite a bit at business services.
There just wasn't time the last time. We only, we were talking about October, November. You have to pull out by February. There just wasn't time.
Yep. Well, and we did start the process,
Yeah.
but we ran out of time at that point. But just in the one aspect that you were talking about, the aggregate, that is under some of those variable costs where we get actuarial credits and debits based on if
The
you're
size.
a draw on the plan, you are gonna be paying more to replenish that lost
Yeah.
casualty pot versus a district. But we saw increases on our side as well.
Sure.
So this year, we are definitely benefiting from it, but I agree
In
with
other
you.
years, we've been a drain. Yeah.
I agree that.
And our loss
looking at other
ratio credit's
options.
better on work comp this year than it has been in the past, so that, but you know, you're still looking at in less than a decade, and again, this is just the industry, we've seen $130,000 increase and, that's rate and it's not good, but, I think worth exploring.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Brunner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. Next, we have our roll call action items. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the property tax abatement schedule amendments within the Belvedere Boone County Enterprise Zone?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Mayville seconded the motion to approve the resolution authorizing the property tax abatement schedule amendments within the Belvedere Boone County Enterprise Zone as presented. Any discussion?
I would just share that we have representatives here this evening from Growth Dimensions available to answer any questions or provide any further information regarding the resolution before you this evening.
I just want to thank Pam and Heather for all their work on this. Today was pretty exciting. The news broke that Project Yukon's coming to Belvedere, and that sort of spurred this amendment to the enterprise zone. So thank you to both of you guys. This is huge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mrs. Brunner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you again, Pam and Heather, for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Heather.
And all of your work on this.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I would just like to thank you all for your support and, collaboration on this, as well as just our community. I know that the company's anxious to meet you and be in partnership with this whole district, so thank you.
And we can now announce who it is.
Yes, Walmart.
Thank you.
It's all over the news today, so thank you.
Thank you both,
Thank
ladies.
you. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, it's all over.
I got texts about it. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Do I have a motion to approve the agreement between Belvedere Community Unit School District 100 and the Belvedere Education Support Staff Association, VESA?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion, and Member Booker seconded the motion to approve the agreement between Belvedere Community Unit School District 100 and the Belvedere Educational Support Staff Association, VESA, as presented. Any discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mrs. Brunner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0.
I would like to say thank you to everyone that attended all of our meetings. It was very pleasant. It was very educational, and we appreciate your time and efforts as well as ours. So thank you.
We appreciate you guys being involved in the work. That's super important for your members. So thank you, and a lot of time goes into that and a lot of thought. So we appreciate that. Do I have a motion to approve the Director of Curriculum contract as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Hauk seconded the motion to approve the Director of Curriculum contract as presented. Any discussion?
And I would again share that we have Dr. Volant here with us this evening. We are very excited to have her joining us here in the district. Provided the board supports this motion, She did a wonderful job interviewing, and she brings a wealth of experience to the district, and we look forward to having her join us here.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk. Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Brunner.
Aye, motion passed 6-0.
Welcome, Dr.
Welcome.
Valenti.
Do I have a motion to approve the notice of remedy for employee 062023-A?
So moved.
Second.
Member Mayville made a motion and Member Booker seconded the motion to approve the notice to remedy for employee 062023-A. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk. Mrs. Brunner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. Do I have a motion to approve the notice to remedy for employee 062023-B?
So moved.
Second.
Member Mayville made a motion and Member Booker seconded the motion to approve the notice to remedy for employee 062023-B. Discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk. Mrs. Brunner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. Do I have a motion to approve the notice to remedy for employee 062023-C?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Mayville seconded the motion to approve the notice to remedy for employee 062023-C. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk. Mrs. Brunner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. Do I have a motion to approve the notice to remedy for employee 062023-A?
D. That's my
Oh.
mistake.
Disregard D.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. Do I have a motion to approve the notice of remedy for employees 062023-D?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Mayville seconded the motion to approve the notice to remedy for employee 062023-D. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk. Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mrs. Brunner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. Do I have a motion to approve the district treasurer appointment?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Booker seconded the motion to appoint Joanne Armstrong as the district treasurer as presented. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk. Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mrs. Brunner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. Do I have a motion to approve the strategic plan implementation support agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Mayville seconded the motion to approve the strategic plan implementation support agreement as presented. Discussion.
I'll be voting no. I think that, one of the things we had in Dr. Shug was that this was her passion, and I think she's capable and up to the task. I think she is supported by some strong individuals, and starting over with an entity that didn't take us through the strategic plan and is now kind of on the learning curve again. I just think it's a big expenditure, and we have people here who can guide that very successfully under the leadership of Dr. Shug, who advised it really, unlike most people, that, she said, I love strategic planning, and so I think we can manage this in-house without the $40,000.
I'll just say on this one, I've gone back and forth, and we talked about it at the Business Services Committee, and some good points were made by others as well. I just would keep hiring outside sources for things that we can do, I think, inside, and I think we have the people here that can do it, and that's my thoughts.
Any other discussion?
Well, I would agree that Dr. Shug and our administrators are very capable of this, to do it on their own. I see this as a reflection of being able to find and hire additional resources and expertise to bring to the table, rather than recreating the wheel's built. And then we can move forward with more momentum, more expertise on getting this right and implementing it on time with the expertise and help of others. So I will be voting yes.
Any further discussion? Holly and I were able to sit in with Dr. Shug and Dr. Carson in relation to the presentations. One of the vendors we did look at was who did the strategic plan work for us. We did not feel that they were the best fit in either what they could deliver or the execution of the follow-up, although it was the same entity that we were looking at. And the one that we brought forward tonight that went to business services had the best capability for parent messaging, because obviously we need to message our stakeholders, so not just those that are involved in the work, but outside in a way that makes sense to families that may not be educators in the profession. So they had some nice capability in relation to that, as well as the data tracking. And what was presented was for just a year, correct? So then it would be taken over by those that are in, like, whether we talked about Frank's role, some of Dave's work, et cetera, in the continuation of. So the one that, and the other we looked at was the Studer that we've used before for surveys. But again, this one had a lot more capability in what they were offering and what was already created for us to utilize in the follow-up work, which is equally as important in the design work. So.
Yeah, we had this company present to us at curriculum committee at that. The presentation was very good, and they really stressed that they wanted to build capacity within the district to provide us with a system where we would have the internal capacity to monitor this going forward. I don't know what duties I would take away from Dr. Shug in order to allow her to build the system, to monitor and report on the strategic plan. I'd rather have her down doing the work to implement the strategic plan. So I'll be voting yes on this.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
No.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
No.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed 4-2. Do I have a motion to approve the Everest blended learning proposal?
So moved.
Second?
Member Mayville made a motion and Member Herrera seconded the motion to approve the Everest blended learning plan proposal as presented. Any discussion?
This is just one of the things that when the board voted to do away with the proficiency waiver, it's one of the consequences of that what they were doing at Everest couldn't be continued without some adjustments. So the fact that they're very successful at Everest with what they do, Everest needs the flexibility to serve and support the student population that they have in order that those kids can succeed. Mr. Roscoe has done a really good job of coming up with this proposal to be able to accomplish most of what we were able to do at Everest under the waiver that the board voted down.
I agree. It's been really cool to see the kids in progress in an environment where they can be successful. And in addition to, I mean, some of the data that we looked at for graduation rate for Everest shows that it's working for those kids and they're connected, they have relationships, which is super important. Other discussion? All right, roll call.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. Do I have a motion to approve the high school schedule study?
So moved.
Second?
Member Mayville made a motion and Member Herrera seconded the motion to approve the high school schedule study as presented. Any discussion?
On this one, I'd like to say it's interesting to me. When we started the strategic plan committee, on the very first day we were there, I had several administrators saying, we got to go to block scheduling. We got to go to block scheduling. And I'm like, well, why? And that was like a theme before we even started the strategic plan. So I'm like, how do we know we want to do that when we haven't even gone through the strategic plan yet? Which I think led their strategic plan to say that, which is kind of not how it's supposed to work a little bit. But to me, the big concerns I have is, one, shouldn't we action plan this first before we go to do the study? I'm not quite sure. Secondly, something like this, if it is undertaken, is another major shift in our district where we just changed grading. We just kind of went over and are trying to get the kids some consistency. And speaking as a parent, I would think our teachers would want consistency in what they're doing. And I think they all agree that what direction we were going is working well. But it's been 1 year. And I think we should continue to have some type of stability and consistency for teachers and for children. Because to be honest, if we go to this, it's another stressing thing on our teaching staff that they won't know how to do it well. We're going to have to go through training and figuring it out. Nor do I know, is it better? Where is that information, which I guess part of the study is. But for me, as a parent, I don't really want my child to go through another big experiment like they went through the last 4 years, not having grades and things like that and having the adjustment back. I just don't think that's something, when you do a study of a district or anything, you usually want to have a control. So you know what is working and what isn't working. And if we keep throwing giant variables into our mix of our district, how are we going to know what's the cause and effect of things? I think maybe this isn't the right time for that. And I think people want stability. I want stability for my child, so.
I didn't know this was block scheduling.
Isn't that what the schedule study is for? No?
Not necessarily. So the schedule study, and I can speak a little, and then Dr. Carson might want to, is to really see what high school schedules are out there that are the most effective and most impactful. This comes out of the student interventions study where we know we need to make some adjustments to our schedule in order to provide the intervention time that we're looking to provide. So this is not a vote for any type of schedule at this time. This is a vote to look at what schedules are out there, what might be possible. Then it would come back to the board to say, this is what we found, this is how we think we should proceed. So it is not, it's gonna be this schedule or it's gonna be that schedule at this point. Dr. Carson, did I adequately state that? Do you have some more to add?
No, I really don't want to, yeah, sure.
I was on the intervention committee and I didn't hear the phrase block scheduling at any point during that. So I don't know if that's a possibility to come out of this, but it honestly never occurred to me that that's what I think this is probably similar to the intervention committee I was on, that it's going to be a group of people who come together, look at the research, see what's out there, sort of evaluate the pros and cons, and then bring a proposal to the board in order to best integrate the intervention proposal that was approved by the board last month or the month before.
I just think that it's, for me, it's a matter of timing. I'm not saying whether it needs to be done or it doesn't, but I'd like to see us get some of the other things we've just studied on their feet and moving and going well, and course correcting on where we need to for some of the things that we've just implemented and are implementing, and then, see this, again, just for me to come back perhaps at another time for there to be a proposal in the future, but that's all I have.
Which things?
Well, the early childhood is going to be a huge undertaking for the new year, and so we just completed that. We just completed the compensation study. We're, doing a lot of things related to the strategic plan. There's, all of the action planning that will go into that, and we've heard before. We can't, spread people too thin, and so, obviously we want to. I just think it's a matter of, for me, it's a matter of not saying that we shouldn't do it. If at some point in time it is, I'd like to see some of the action planning in place tell us that So, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'm a little surprised, seeing as how we unanimously approved the intervention plan just a month or two ago. To hear that there are reservations about figuring out the best way to implement that.
I'm happy to see that it's brought forward. I know this topic came up in relation to those recent teacher contract negotiations and was one of the topics that was a shared interest to explore further in relation to intervention as well as just overall scheduling. So I feel good about the study as a way to say that we're following up on the things that we told the BEA were an important value to us that we wanted to follow up on. So for that reason, I'm happy that this is a next step in relation to that work. And I do think that Dr. Carson, wasn't some of this work like started prior to COVID, having some of those discussions and then kind of was put on hold as far as timing just because of COVID, obviously, and scheduling realities?
Yeah, and I think, too, part of the interest in block scheduling came from the fact we used a block schedule during
At that
COVID.
time,
And I
right.
think there was an interest in how that changed the daily schedule for both the students and the staff. But again, that was not the intent of this. This did come from the intervention proposal that if we're gonna provide daily opportunities for kids, we don't have a schedule currently that allows for that.
Any other discussion items?
And you're looking for one board member or two board members to sit on
That would be wonderful.
this committee? So, anyone who has a particular interest in it, sounds like a good opportunity.
All right. Roll call?
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
No,
Mr. Booker.
No.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed 4-2. Do I have a motion to approve the contract addendum for William 80, 2023-24 retirement pipeline?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Mayville seconded the motion to approve the contract addendum for William 80, 2023-24 retirement pipeline as presented. Discussion?
I have a question. Before, if this was done, it was done in the pool of dollars that you had. It never came to the board as an individual item like this.
Correct.
Why was that not done here?
Because we received Dr. Ady's request to go into the pipeline after that had taken place. So he submitted his request to go into the pipeline like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
So 2 weeks ago, so as soon as we received that request, we brought it forward. If we had anticipated it, we would have certainly included it in the other information, and that's why it's coming to you as an addendum to the contract.
I voted no for the contract the last time based on the travel, so consistently that just not the, if I could vote no and say you can't enter the pipeline, then that would be my no vote for that. You can't retire. But that's not, so that's just where I'm.
Other discussion? Okay, roll call?
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Ms. Mayville.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
No.
Mr. Booker.
No.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed 4-2. The following items have been added for discussion or will be up for further review and/or possible action in the future. Background information has been provided and the board may ask questions and/or request clarification at this time. We are interested in talking a little bit about the forthcoming board retreat and would like to get some feedback from the board in relation to this topic of items they would like to see or areas we should prioritize in that future work. So Holly and I and Dr. Shug can meet with our facilitator and give them that feedback to help us in planning that agenda. So if there's anything that the board would like to see, if you want to discuss that now, that would be helpful in our future work to make sure it's meaningful for all of our people to be there and participate effectively.
I think it's generally a good idea to do this on a regular basis. I think historically we've done one a year, one every other year. So it's a good thing for the board to sit down, review our duties, review board norms, superintendent relationships, superintendent-board relationship, board-staff relationships, and discuss ways we can collaborate in the best interest of the district.
Thank you, Carla. Any other thoughts or ideas that we should notate to share with our facilitator to plan the agenda forthcoming?
Yeah, I would just echo what Carla had to say in terms of superintendent relationship, board relationship, staff relationships. Important. There are workshops specifically designated from ISB that we can look into. I don't have the specific names on those, but they exist, and those are some of the items we can select as well. Just some of the basics. I mean, you're new to the board, and so some of us have been on here, so maybe covering some of the basics as well. Just a real short piece on board members, roles and duties, just a high overview for your benefit more, and some of us too as a refresher as well, but yeah.
I think it's good that we come up with our own norms. And the last couple of years, I believe we had 100% participation, so I hope that we would all make ourselves available for that too.
Other thoughts, feedback? All right, and so after we draft the agenda, and hopefully we can bring it back to the board, have them look at maybe some of the slides and or agenda items before the meeting and then make any revisions. Would that be the intent?
Yep, absolutely, we can bring it back in July.
Awesome.
Laura Martinez is going to be the facilitator. She has facilitated in the past, so she knows the board. She's prepared a preliminary slide presentation that we can work from, but we can also make adjustments as the board sees fit. So I can meet with Sarah and Holly, and we can discuss the feedback that you gave us, have Laura make any adjustments, and then put that in an upcoming board update.
All right, thank you guys for your feedback. And the next item just has upcoming contract renewals and reports are provided in the agenda for your reference. At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to Dr. Shug for administration reports.
All right, so superintendent comments. We had a busy past month with the ending of the school year, as we already recognized our 2023 graduates. Really, I know I said it last month, and I'll say it again as we approach it next year. It's the best day of the year, the energy that is captured by our graduates on those days. And I think our principals, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Lascola, Mr. Friesma, really did an outstanding job coordinating those events. I know they have a lot of support from their staff, but they did a wonderful job. The student speakers were amazing. I saw at least one board member brought to tears, so it was it was really a powerful day. So. And I want to thank the board. I know it's hard to make that time in the summer. I want to thank everybody who was able to make it on that day. And I wanted to congratulate our scholarship winners. As we mentioned previously, over $600,000 for a community of this size. That is just beyond remarkable. Truly speaks to the quality of community that we have here. It was a wonderful evening. And if you didn't have a chance, hop on our Facebook page and watch Bryn arrive at Meehan School. She had collected her MVP tickets for good choices throughout the school year, saved them all up, and used them to arrive in a fire truck to school. The entire student body was out in front to welcome her. I think it was a little more than she anticipated, but it was so fantastic to see, and just really also, you saw Tasha Reyes from Meehan here earlier, and Bo Smith did just a great job of thinking of some really wonderful incentives for students to make good choices and have good attendance patterns, and that was the result of that. It's been a great 22-23 school year. I'm super excited. I feel like I'm gonna make it through my first year. It's been a great year. I'm looking forward to having the summer to really collect around all the work that we've been doing this year and being ready to start off this next school year in a really fantastic fashion. So those are my superintendent comments, but there are a few other things I want to share that is in that section for administrative reports, unless anybody has any questions about the superintendent comments. I know I didn't present anything very controversial there, but I would be happy to take your questions. You are going to see in the administrative reports several things this month, so I'll just highlight them for you. You've got your HVAC and air quality update that we've been waiting on. That report is there. Also our winners of the Excellence in Education grant recipients. And you have your annual reports on wellness, the community connection, and agriculture departments, in addition to all of the things you typically see there in admin reports. Any questions on any of that content?
I appreciate that the department highlights include the safety and security update now. That's good extra information in there.
Good.
Just
And-
another touch point from,
Thank you, and we did that at
After
the
the
board
feedback,
suggestion, and I agree, I think it's really nice to see that information in there as well, so thank you for that feedback.
I would like to add, if anybody has not had the opportunity to kind of look through the presentation on the HVAC and air quality, it really is enlightening to see some of what we have already accomplished through it and what we have faced as we've uncovered many things. I want to thank Mr. Winters and his team for diligently working through those, and sometimes opening doors, you don't know what's behind them. So if you haven't taken an opportunity, I hope that you will take a few minutes and look at that. We will be putting those HVAC dollars that we put into ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 to work. A lot of that will be coming to business services probably next month in the form of replacement boilers and water treatment options.
And can I add really quick that summer programming started today? So
yeah.
our K-12, in 3 different buildings, we're at Meehan, we're at Central, and we're at North. We have 2 weeks, then we have a week off, and then we have 3 more. So if anyone has an interest in hopping out, let me know. But we had a quick turnaround for staff, and I really appreciate it, because they had about a week, and they're back.
Dr. Johnson plays a really critical role in that, as does Mr. Lascola and many, many other people, so
Yep.
your hard work is appreciated to
Oh,
make that
it's
happen.
a good gig.
Do I have a motion and a second to go into closed executive session regarding Section 2, Heading C, exceptions, sub number 1 of the Open Meetings Act to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the body of public and legal counsel for public body, and there will not be any action to follow. So moved. And sub-action 9 for student discipline.
So moved.
Second?
Member Mayville made a motion and Member Herrera seconded the motion to go into executive session. Roll call.
Ms. Mayville?
Aye.
Mr. Herrera?
Aye.
Mr. Booker?
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk? Mrs. Whitcomb?
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner?
Aye. It's now 7:10.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight.
You don't need to enjoy it.